This is Support is Sexy, episode 323, with Cheryl Clements, founder and CEO of PieShell. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I interview inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and their lessons to help you take your business and your life to the next level and create something sexy. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here. Happy Monday. It just would not be the same without you. And if you have been anxious to tell the world your story and all about your brand and what you're up to, but maybe you're having a little bit of trouble coming up with what that story is and the best way to communicate it, no worries. I want you to sign up for my free course, How to Create Your Unforgettable Brand Story. And you can do that at brandstory.tips. Again, that's brandstory.tips. Now, I'm so excited to welcome our guest today, Cheryl Clements. And Cheryl is the founder and CEO of a great company called PieShell. And what I love about PieShell is that Cheryl is really focusing on her niche, which is serving food entrepreneurs with a crowdfunding platform that is different than what some of the other crowdfunding platforms may provide. So Cheryl really created her platform with success in mind, specifically for food entrepreneurs, and put many things in place to make sure that they are successful. In fact, all of the companies that have raised money so far on PieShell have been successful. So you want to hear Cheryl's story about building this platform and really focusing on how you can serve your clients specifically to their needs and finding out what those needs are. So on this episode, what you'll learn from Cheryl, the importance of figuring out what's missing in your market before you commit to your product, the value of testing before launching, what's in a name, how to find the name that represents your company and your story, smart ways to get feedback from your audience, something that we talked about that sometimes we avoid because we don't want that feedback, but feedback is information and it could really help you know where you need to shift or pivot in your business. Cheryl also talks about strategies for how to be successful at crowdfunding and how to get over your roadblocks. And it's really your roadblocks and your limiting beliefs. But this is whether you're a food entrepreneur or not, just crowdfunding in general. Also, why it pays to be a squeaky wheel when promoting your brand, especially for us as women, and how to get through those low moments and keep your perspective. So I know you're going to enjoy this conversation with Cheryl. It's a great one. So without further ado, Cheryl Clements. So Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Elayne. I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Excellent. So our first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
Well, it's funny. I never really thought of it as entrepreneurship until I got into startup land. I just thought I was crazy because I would have these millions of ideas running through my head of things that I wanted to do. And so I honestly don't know any other life. I've just always wanted to do more tomorrow than I did today. And so at the end of the day, that's kind of the definition of an entrepreneur.
It sure is. And as you said, ideas always running through your mind.
100%.
Was this something that was it like this for you, I should say, when you were younger? You've always been someone who had a bunch of ideas, or what were you like as a young girl?
As a young girl, I don't really think about it too much, but I came from, we get fancy titles now like entrepreneur, but I am a third generation hardworking woman, I like to say. And my mom had her own businesses. My grandmother catered weddings and had her own stuff. So I think it's just in my DNA.
It's something that you witnessed growing up.
Absolutely. It was 100% a big part of what we did. My mom had her own companies and we helped her do that. Actually, the name of my company is her first company. She called it The PieShell, and we're just PieShell, but we're super proud to carry on that name.
Would you say that your mom and grandmom were big influences in your life?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I hear now about women entrepreneurs is that, we have a hard time starting businesses, and we have a hard time doing this, and we have a hard time doing that. And, we maybe carry a little bit of a heavier cross because we are women. And I just wasn't raised that way. It was never a conversation point. It was never a discussion. There was never a differentiator between men and women. I also am incredibly fortunate that my father never hesitated to support my mom in her dreams, and we all helped one another. So I didn't realize that there were these potential barriers, and I think that's actually a big plus for me, because if you don't have a perceived barrier, you just go. And so I'm excited to just go.
Isn't it amazing how we become aware of the barriers along the way? Once people say that this is a barrier, you can't do that. Other than that, as you said, you kind of grow up and it's your dream. Then what other kind of support you have around you that really give you that sense of no barriers?
Absolutely.
So where did you grow up?
I actually was born in a very small town called Cowansville, which is in the eastern townships of Quebec. But my parents moved when I was about 8 years old into Ontario. And so I grew up in Ontario, Canada, in a small town named Smith Falls. And then when I was older, I moved to Toronto, and I lived there for quite a few years before I met my husband, and then moved into the United States. He happens to be Canadian as well, but I grew up in Canada.
So where are you now?
I am now in New York City. We're based here.
You're in New York City. Oh, I miss New York. I'm in Atlanta now, but I miss it.
Atlanta is marvelous, but I do have a soft spot for New York. There
Exactly.
there are only a handful of places in your life that when you go and visit, it truly feels like home. Mm-hmm. And that is something that, while New York, I understand, is an acquired taste for some. For me, the minute that I came in by plane the first time, and the minute, that plane just lands, my chest just opens up. I feel like I can breathe. I feel like I can do anything here. And whenever you feel that, wherever it may be, I think that's something that you really should listen to. And that's somewhere that you're just really going to be inspired by and be happy to be a part of that community.
Right. Now, did you have that same kind of feeling or something similar when you decided to become a food entrepreneur, or what was that feeling like, or that moment like?
Absolutely. I had been an independent consultant as a senior project and program manager, installing to be candid, the largest software package in the world. And I was doing it at Fortune 500 companies. And as a result of a girlfriend of ours who passed away, I tried to look at life and figure, what take some good and, learn from the bad. And I just realized that I wanted to be doing something different. And I've loved food my entire life, and I love technology, and sort of, had been watching crowdfunding and stumbled upon it. But I can easily say that the journey I've taken, I've had days where, as they say, you go into the trough of sorrow, which is very familiar for startup land, but not one day have I actually regretted starting this company. I have been, thrilled to do it every day since I came up with the idea. And I'm just, so excited to see it happen. And I go to so many places, and people are so excited to hear that we're out there, that it's just every day it's affirmation of what we're doing.
Now, it sounds like you had a high-level position in your previous life, or your corporate life, as they say. Was it difficult for you to make the decision, or was it really with the passing of your friend, you just knew that you want the decision, meaning to change and become a full-time entrepreneur? Or was it with the passing of your friend, it really was an epiphany moment for you?
It really, I could sort of answer both. It absolutely was an epiphany moment, because I looked at my husband, and I just said, I don't make a difference. I'm very good at what I do, because if I'm going to do something, I really was brought up to do it well. So I took great pride in what I did. But I think also I was an independent consultant. So I was, for lack of a better word, a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit to begin with. I didn't work for these corporations as an employee on purpose. I knew that I'd want to move on. I knew that I'd want to do different things. And so that's one of the reasons why I had worked on my own and didn't work for, I'd been doing on my own for probably easily about 13 or 14 years. And so going out on my own 100%, which only happened about a year and a half ago, that was a decision that I made with my husband, because obviously to cease any income from my side is not something I can do unilaterally, but he has supported me from the beginning to the end, and, has been my number one fan, which is what the best relationships are like, and I've been very, very lucky. But that's, it wasn't hard. I don't tend to get fearful or nervous. If it's something I really believe in, then I'm full steam ahead.
Excellent. So what was the first step then once you decided to move into focusing on PieShell full time? Did you know at that time what you were going to call it, and tell us how the idea for the business itself came about?
Oh, sure. So I actually had a little bit of an odder idea that where we live in New York, we look out our bedroom window onto a wonderful little park called Abingdon Square Park, and they weekly have on Saturday a market. And I had a crazy idea of making my mother's salad dressing. She passed away, it was 10 years ago this summer. And right before she passed, she'd had a tea room for a large number of years. She retired from the pie business and bought a tea room. And people still ask for the salad dressing. I actually thought of making it, and I thought of raising the funds to do that with crowdfunding. And when I went online, I did not feel comfortable, and it didn't feel like the sites that were there really truly represented food companies, and because they have their own perceived niches, and they're wonderful, and we adore the market and all of the players, and we are often times at similar events, and they're so incredibly generous about what we're doing. But I Googled, I find everything online, my husband, my homes, my jobs, and I tried to find a food site, and there wasn't one. And so I very quickly determined that I was raised, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And so, PieShell at the end of the day was born, but I actually started it with a different name. And that, I think, is it's a critical part of the journey. I decided that I wanted to do crowdfunding, but I wasn't naive enough to think that I could just do food and beverage and do it better than, $600 million companies. And so I really wanted to know why. I think a big part of, something that's critical when you're starting anything is to figure out, why they're not working, why someone hasn't done it before, what the challenges are, and really do your homework. And so I stood up what they call a white label site, which looked very similar to how the other sites work, and figured out what the challenges were for food and beverage. And then we took that down, we did focus groups, we refined our business model, and we stood up a site that met their needs, very well. And in that process, we went through a rebranding. And as we did that, as we started to really talk about with this branding company, which is a wonderful partner of ours, they're called Charming Robot, and I'm very fortunate to have them as part of, as we say, the PieShell family. When we talked about what we wanted the site to feel like and how we wanted people to be represented, and I asked for the logo, they said, about the logo. And I knew pretty quickly that the name wasn't going to work. We had a wonderful name before that a lot of people really liked. It was Fun to Feast. But Fun to
Feast, cute.
Yeah, but and some people are like, "Oh, I love that name. It's a great name." And I don't disagree, but it's like, it's like when you're looking at a relationship and you're looking at a life partner. You can meet a lot of great people, but they're not necessarily the right person for you. And the name wasn't the right name for us and what we really were trying to show of the business. And so I just looked him straight in the face and I said, look, I'm sure this is a very difficult conversation for you normally, but I did not start this company to call it Fun to Feast. I started this company to help people crowdfund better and to help them be more successful. And if that name is not going to get us to our ultimate goal, then we're changing the name, because it shouldn't be about the name, the color, the this, the that. It should be about the services and or the product you're providing. And is it really working for your customer? What they want to receive, not necessarily what you want to give them. Mm-hmm. So we put together a whole bunch of names, and the name of, as I mentioned, my mom's first company, she used to be a head cashier and made dinner one night after she'd resigned, and the gentleman had a butcher shop, and she'd made pie for dessert. And he says, "This is really good. I want to sell this at the butcher shop." And she's like, "Are you crazy?" And he's like, "No." And so she started making pies out of the basement of our house. We had 2 wall ovens. And according to my father, who is a controller, he said he figures that it was close to 10,000 pies over 5 years out of
the basement.
Out of the basement. But it symbolized exactly why, I'm so in love with helping people through PieShell, because we helped my mom. My brother and I and my dad, and we all helped. It was a family business. My brother would cook double crust pies, which is like what an apple pie would be, where there's crust on the top and the bottom. And he would cook that from midnight until about 5-6 o'clock when my dad, my mom, and I would get up. Then he would sleep all day. And from 4 to midnight, he'd work at a convenience store, and he'd do it again the next day. My mom, dad, and I would get up at 5 in the morning. We would bag the pies, and then my dad would deliver them, then go to his day job. I would deliver some because I was 16 and could drive. And then I worked at one of the produce stands, and that was my last delivery. And then my mom would work at home during the day, and we'd come back and wrap up a few things at night and do it again the next day. And that's what we would always do during all of our summers through all of high school. And, people are like, "That's crazy. You're working 24 hours a day." And like, but I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, we were brought up with a wonderful work ethic, and we just really wanted to help make her dream come true. And, she wasn't looking to take over the world. She just thought if she could make enough money to buy Christmas presents and a family vacation and keep her busy and put smiles on people's faces, she was happy. And, so that name was in my mind of, her company called the PieShell. And when we tested it out with people, it really simulated what we wanted people to feel. It's very supportive. It's foundational. It's not the most important part. You can put anything into it. And that's the way we look at the projects, that they really are what we want to highlight. And we just want to be really supportive. And when people said that was the name they liked, I absolutely cried big Oprah tears. I had never
drowned. Ugly cry.
Oh my gosh. It was it was a little family run business out of my mom's basement. It was not, some incorporated name or anything. My husband didn't even know that was the name of my mom's company. And, so when I told him, I go running downstairs to our basement and pull up a couple ceramic items that my aunt had made back in the 80s. We're dating ourselves, for my mom. Mm-hmm. And, and it said the PieShell on them. And he had never even seen them. And I said, "This is what it was." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, how cool." And I'm like, "I know." And I couldn't stop crying.
I know, crying. No, it's an amazing story, and how fitting for the company. And just to highlight for all of our listeners that the fact that you had a whole different name, and then suppose you had been resistant to, and you didn't know obviously PieShell was going to be the new name, but if you were resistant to that change or just looking at it a different way, now you have a name that so encompasses what your brand and mission and your why is all about.
100%. And that's one of the things that, when people say to me all the time, "What do you look for in founders?" And, one of the things we say is people that are open to listening, mm-hmm. Because if you are just so incredibly secure in what you're doing and you disregard the generous, and I mean incredibly generous feedback that people, if they're, kind enough to share, give you, it doesn't mean you change every single thing about what you're doing, but they're taking the time to tell you something about your product. They care about you, and they're trying to help you with it. And so if you're open to listening, you can tweak and really take it to the next level. And so it's one of the things we always say is just, you have to be able to pivot. You've got to have some fluidity. There are experts in your space that, can really help you get to the next level. And you have to be open to that. And it can be incredibly painful. I mean, we had to change logos and cards and business cards and trademarks, but it was the best choice for us. And so we're happy to do it.
And the smart thing about soliciting that feedback too, whether it was from the company that you were working with, Charming Robot, is it called?
It is.
Whether it's them or the potential customers too. It sounds like you did focus groups and asked people what they thought as well.
We did. We worked with Charming Robot. I had given them over 20 different names, mm-hmm. Because a naming exercise, as inexpensive as a couple companies were willing to do, if you pay someone to do that for you, it's a minimum of a $7,000 wow. game that they play. And so they said, "We know you don't want to spend that. Go come up with some names." I had over 20 names. They reduced it to 4 immediately that they liked. Of course, PieShell was one of them. And they said, we need you to take it to 2. And I, on the call, said, oh, well, that's easy. It's these 2. And they're like, oh, that was quick. And then I took those 2 and I actually used an online survey and put it out through Facebook and reached out to friends and family and asked them, and it won overwhelmingly, obviously. But we were, again, it's the crowd. I'm a crowdfunding company now, but the crowd is so supportive. I mean, crowdsource the info, reach out, they're your friends and family at the end of the day are a virtual focus group. Take advantage of it.
That's right. And people love to vote on things, even if they don't know exactly what it's for. I like that one. They want to be involved.
Right. They love to feel like they're needed, and they were for us. They're absolutely pivotal in us being successful, and we were so excited to have them be a part of the process.
Do you remember what online tool that you used? I know Facebook allows, I don't know if it does for people's personal page. I know on your business page you can do polls to ask people different things, or groups maybe you can do polls. But I'm just curious for people listening who want to do something like that. Do you remember what tool you used at the time?
Absolutely. I used SurveyMonkey at the time. And it is a free service unless you're like a big corporation and really using it for business purposes. And it's something that works incredibly well. And you get your metrics and people can, apply anonymously and all of that. So that worked really well for us.
Excellent. So once you decided on the name, the fantastic, perfectly fitting name that you have, what was the first step for you? And tell us too what exactly PieShell does for food and beverage entrepreneurs and how you're different from other crowdfunding sites.
Well, we're actually starting to use the word crowd marketing a little bit because because we talk to so many people, and as we sit today, with an industry definition, are what is called a reward-based crowdfunding site. And what that means is that for a small contribution amount, typically $30 to $50 is the average that people will contribute, you in turn will give them what's considered a reward. A lot of the companies today are what you think of as what's known as a pre-sale site, which means I'm going to buy it from you today and I'm going to ship it to you, months to years from now once I've had, because that money will go into the production. And that's a phenomenal model. The challenge that we found for food, because what we do is we're a rewards-based site only for food and beverage focused ideas. So it might be a packaged good, it might be an app, it might be a cookbook, it might be a restaurant. Anything in the food and beverage space, we are happy to bring onto the platform. But what we found is that with the exception of items that are, of course, incredibly innovative, when it comes to when it comes to actual packaged goods, there are a lot of people making relatively similar things. And the perception in the market of the people that you're going to be reaching out to is that they can buy something similar next door or at their grocery store or online, whether it's, granola, jam, a new drink, a soda, whatever it might be. They feel like there's something similar. So you don't potentially have that stand in line iPhone technology, I must have it, spark. So, but more what people get behind and what we really emphasize and highlight at PieShell is that people are doing it for the right reasons. And why are you creating this product? And what is making this product different? And why do you care for this product to be in the world? And what's your story? Is there any sort of a social mission behind it? Because we found over and over again that millennials and Gen Xers, who tend to be the people that contribute to crowdfunding more than other demographics, they really want to get behind something with a social mission, contrary to the mislabeling that they have. They are not this self-absorbed, generation. They really want to make a difference, and that's the projects that they get behind. So that's what we highlight. And they absolutely can get this super cool, innovative item if they choose, but we actually let people opt out of it as well, because one of our focus groups, the founder of Slow Money NYC here in New York, a gentleman by the name of Derek Denkla, he raised the concern. He says, I've contributed to over 30 crowdfunding projects in my day, and I need another t-shirt like a hole in the head. That's not why I'm contributing. I'm contributing because I really believe in that company. I believe in what they're doing. I believe in the founders, and I want them to be successful. So we were like, well, how do we cover both of those? So we allow people to have 3 gifts. We only allow 3. We don't want people to come and shop. We're not a shopping site. If you want that innovative item, you'll get it. But if you don't, you can actually make a conscious choice to waive receiving that gift. And we're incredibly proud of the fact that over 38% of the contributors on PieShell so far have said, I don't actually want it. You keep it. You take that extra money that you would have spent shipping it to me and put it back into your business. We want you to have all of our funds. And that was wonderful. But then again, we want to make sure that we highlight that if someone's got a super cool, innovative product, like kelp jerky, there was a wonderful company that finished with us about 3 weeks ago called Beyond the Shoreline. They're making a jerky out of kelp, which is a ridiculously sustainable product. It doesn't take any land. It's super wonderful for the environment. It's vegan, it's healthy, it's organic, all these wonderful attributes. And people were jumping through hoops to try it. So their waiving of the reward was only 14%. So it shows that, if people really want to get in front of that innovative item, they will. But if they really just want to support you, they have that option as well.
That's wonderful. And it's so true. As you were speaking about, I was thinking of myself, even when I support different projects, whether it's someone I know or just something that I've heard about that I think is cool, I often waive, or if there's an option, say that I don't want the reward, or that I don't want my name to have to appear on. Sometimes they ask you, do you want your name to appear on some kind of list or something, just to show everyone that you donate it, unless it's to support it or promote it on Facebook and that kind of thing. But you're right. Sometimes the thing is you just want to support whatever the brand or the person or the mission is.
Right. And that's one of the things that we share with all of our project owners, where if you are as open and as transparent as possible about why you're doing this and why you care to do this, that emotion, that's what people give towards. And that's what food is all about. People sit down, they go to family events, you go travel around the world. Everyone is brought together by food. It's whether you're shoving together 3 tables that are all different heights and all different tablecloths and, leftovers from the fridge and an open bottle of wine and empty jam jars. I mean, it's never about, all of the nitty gritty in the white tablecloths. It's really about bringing together the people, the community, the love for what you're doing. And that's what we're so proud to see is happening. And, we've got a wonderful community. I mean, one of the items that we ask people to do if they want to launch on the site is that they have to support an active project. So, it makes sure that community keeps happening, because you can't just show up at PieShell and not share the love for somebody and think that you can come into a supportive community. We're like, look, you contribute to them in any level you feel comfortable with. And, just show that you've got their back. And we have projects. Our very, very first project is a wonderful woman by the name of Erica Korekis, and she has contributed to every single project we've had on the platform. She's what they call a super backer, but she wants them to be successful as she wants us to be successful, which is just so heartwarming.
So how has the response been from the food and beverage community about having something that specifically supports them with crowdfunding or crowd marketing?
Well, yeah, and I didn't maybe explain crowd marketing, but one of the reasons why we sort of think of it like that is because reward-based specifically, you're not going to, unless you're one of the unicorns, which we're happy to have, but on average, you're only going to raise about, on PieShell, we're averaging $13,000, which is almost double the raise on a normal site. And so, we're really excited. It's much more about the fact that you've taken the time, done the due diligence, and you've grown your network and your audience of people behind you. You have the opportunity to tell tens of thousands of people about your product. You're going to have hundreds to thousands of people contribute and pay you for the privilege of becoming brand ambassadors. And they are going to be the number one people to support you and scream about your product and talk about it and share, information about what they like or don't like about it when you send it out to them if they've chosen that. And that's where we kind of get the crowd marketing. And that's something that we're really excited about.
So this is, sorry to interrupt. So the people that you're saying they can send it out to, this is something that's through PieShell, or you're talking about the entrepreneur's own network?
Well, that's one of the things for crowdfunding. For them to be successful, they have to build their network.
Right.
There isn't a site in the world that's going to bring everybody to them. And one of the things we really want people to understand is as many people as we do bring to you, the chances of our audience, who's probably a little bit more generic, turning into your customer for life is slimmer than if you actually go out and spend the requisite, 4, 6, 12 months and do that homework to build your own audience. I crowdfunded to start PieShell. I did it on GoFundMe, actually. And those people that supported me at that time, they still support me because I'm the one that they got behind. I mean, I only actually had one miscellaneous contribution and I raised $13,000. I only asked for 10 and there was only one person that I did not know that contributed and they contributed $5. So it just showed that, your audience is the best one to support you. And so that's one of the things that we do at PieShell. We help people understand what's called the best practices to crowdfund. We make sure they follow those processes because we want them to be successful. We do not want them to go out there unprepared, throw up a project thinking it's going to be easy and that strangers are just going to stumble upon them and throw thousands of dollars their way, because that is not the way it works. And it's heartbreaking when that happens. And we don't want that to happen. And that's why we're so excited by taking people through the best practice process, because our guys so far have been 100% successful. And that's something that we're incredibly proud of.
That's excellent. How many people have you had as on the site so far? Raise money on the site so far?
Yeah, we just had a birthday. It was 1 year ago on the 4th of October.
Yay! And happy birthday.
Thank you. We're so excited.
It's a big accomplishment.
We know that there's sometimes an uphill battle in making it through your first year, and we're just so incredibly proud. And to answer your other question earlier, I mean, people have been so incredibly, overwhelmingly supportive. Anytime we talk about what we're doing, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. That's wonderful.
Right.
How do we find out?" And we have over 60 community partnerships where we tell people about what we've got going on and they share that with their audience and then they send people our way. And it's an amazing, amazing community. But we're super proud of the fact that in the past year we've had 15 projects start and finish successfully. We've had 3 that came to us, and 2 of them, one of our barriers to launching on the site, our very last obstacle, for lack of a better word, is kind of a real proof that you've done all your homework and that you're ready. We created a very unique model called stepping stones. And again, it was to really help food and beverage entrepreneurs, because if you're asking people to give you money to a certain goal and you have a product that they don't actually need, once they reach that goal, people would sometimes not contribute anymore. So we said to them, well, what if you knew that they could do all sorts of amazing things if they got extra money? And they're like, oh, well, if I knew that, at the beginning, that'd be great, because sometimes in the industry, there's something called a stretch goal. And we had feedback from contributors that when people reach their goal and then put out another goal and ask for more money, sometimes they felt like people were being greedy. And we're like, well, if you tell them up front, that's wonderful. So we created stepping stones. And our first stepping stone is for a very specific ask. It's for a specific task or next step in your business. So it helps people understand how a company grows, because a lot of people have no idea how hard it is and how much money it takes to do these things. It could be something like legal fees. I mean, it can cost you thousands of dollars to get your name trademarked and pay for lawyers and set up your LLC. Mm-hmm. It could be something like that. It could be buying inventory. It can be putting money into marketing dollars. But that first stepping stone is equal to what you would ask on the other sites. And that's what everybody has 100% success rate. But part of that is because we make sure that prior to launching on our site, they take a private URL. Everything is 100% ready to go. Everything works in the background. Contributions work. Everything's connected to the payment portal. And they take this private URL to their project and they reach out to their closest network. And they do it privately. And so that if they don't reach 25% of that first stepping stone, which is what our barrier is for them to get on the site. And again, we do that because if they reach that 25%, they have a 70% greater chance of making it. So we've put all of these benchmarks in place to try and ensure that they're as successful as possible. Because we've all gone to these crowdfunding sites and seen a project that is dying in front of your eyes, where they have no contributions or just a couple contributions. So this is a way to avoid that, because if they go out on our site and they are not successful, people wouldn't look at that, and let's say it was you, Elayne, that was launching it. They wouldn't say, oh, Elayne is really bad at crowdfunding. Look, she's not doing well. Mm-hmm. The perception is that your project and your company is not viable and people don't want it. That's what people inherently think the minute they see that. And so we want to stop that. We want you to show up on the site with this traction, with an audience already behind you, and that helps build excitement so that when you do get in front of our audience, they're like, oh, wow, look at these guys. They've already got 25, 30, 50%. We've had people launch where they'd already filled their first stepping stone. They had so much support. And then you put it out to all your social channels. Then you put it out to your hundreds to thousands of emails that you've built up over time. And, and that really helps take it to the next step. So all of these things we've done because it's our number one goal for people to be successful.
I love that. That's so smart. And then it gives people a process, because sometimes it can even feel overwhelming, whatever you're doing, but certainly crowdfunding and figuring things out. How do I do this? How do I start? But you're giving them steps, as you said, steps along the way, and a way to sort of test or validate their product, and working with the private link that you give them. I think it's almost like an application process to be on your site, but really it's more so, it sounds to me like a validation kind of thing. And to let them know, I would think too, it makes them come to your site more confidently than if they just put it up there, like you said, and no one comes to it, they don't know why.
Well, that's absolutely our goal. My number one mission is for people to trust us, so that, when they come, they really know that they're instantly part of the PieShell family. They are no longer alone. Entrepreneurship and founders, whether you have a co-founder or not, is a very lonely business. And we've got their back, at least from the crowdfunding side. We wanted to make it easier for them, because there are a lot of people in the food and beverage space. If they're truly doing packaged goods and things like that, they might not be techie people and really understand how to do it. So I'm like, well, we can certainly give them the best practice so that they know how to do it and take that out of the mix. And then it's exactly like you said. I'm not a blind faith kind of girl. And when people will tell you, oh, my audience has got my back, and oh, these people will support me, and oh, I guarantee you it's going to happen. When I talked about the white label site to really find out what was working and not working, that's unfortunately when I found out that what people believe to be true and what's actually true are sometimes different. And so this is one way to make sure that everything they think is actually in place, and the legwork they've done is really working. It's like you said, it's like an approval. Some people think of it as heavy vetting. And that those are the two ways that you can come at crowdfunding. You can just sort of throw it all up against the wall and something will stick, which is the model that some of the other guys use. And that's why their success rate is only 25%. But we make sure that if you go through all these processes, and if, at the end of the day, if crowdfunding proves a little too onerous or difficult for you, well, then we don't want you doing it. We want you to do it, be successful, do it properly, because the benefits are tremendous. I mean, you've built a customer base, you've put out your brand message, you've created budgets, you're now going to have your product in people's hands, and then back to surveys. Once you've put that out there, you need to reach out to them, find out what they didn't like. We had a project that was an ice cream company that can't ship ice cream. And so, we helped them understand that for a gift, they have to provide value. Well, one of the things they did was when people contributed at the higher level, if they had contributed at $90 or above, they brought those people into their virtual R&D team. So now these people are truly part of the company. The next time they want to do a brand extension or a flavor extension, they're going to tap those people and get their opinion before it goes any further. And that's something that's really valuable to people. They love feeling, part of something. They might have a dream of their own company, but never take that forward. And this lets them be part of your company. And it's wonderful.
What have you found? I know it sounds like your company really partners with these entrepreneurs, which is great. Again, it can be a lonely journey. And then if you're on some of the bigger or general, I should say, crowdfunding sites, you can feel alone. But it sounds like you really partner with them. So what would you say then that you've seen be successful strategies for some of all of your companies have been successful, but what have you seen be the most successful strategies that they've used?
The number one thing that they have to do right out of the gate is tell everybody that this is what they're doing. I think one of the bigger challenges with crowdfunding is that people know it's hard and they are fearful of reaching out to friends and family and asking for money or asking for help. And I think even, among women, even sometimes more so, we're just taught to do it ourselves and not ask for that kind of help. But crowdfunding brings those two things together. And one of the things that we share with everybody is, you need to understand that you are not in any way, shape, or form begging for money. You're letting people be involved in a way that they're going to choose to be involved. You're asking for their support, and you are creating a company, potentially putting an amazing product or service into this world. You're trying to build jobs. You're trying to pull a community together. There is absolutely no shame in that game. So you have to be ready to stand behind a crowdfunding project and scream it from the rafters from the moment that you decide to move forward. Because one of the biggest reasons why people fail is that they do not really do that pre-marketing, and they think that they can just sort of pull it together in the last couple of weeks and reach out to people and that people will just instantly throw money at them. But one of the things we let them know is that we politely say, you're not Beyonce. You can't just
right.
show up and think people are going to buy your CD. You don't have that pull. You have to reach out to people, and you've got to really address all those people individually. Some of them are family. Some of them are work colleagues. Some of them are company peers. You cannot talk to a potential investor such as an angel the same way you talk to your great aunt. So you really have to take the time, bifurcate email lists, look at your social channels, where is your audience, and really get in front of them and let them know where your company is, what you're doing, that you're going to crowdfund, that you're going to reach out, so that they're not surprised. You can't ignore someone for 6 years and then tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, do you have $50 for me?
Right.
I'm starting a company. They'll be like, where the heck have you been?
Right.
Exactly.
So
it's just admitting that you're going to do it. And that's probably one of the biggest obstacles, and feeling secure in asking for that help. My grandmother used to always say that a friend in need is a friend indeed, and crowdfunding, raises that to the highest level. That's exactly what it's allowing you to do. And we find all the time that people really want to help you. They just don't know how. They don't have tens of thousands of dollars. They don't have time. They don't have experience. And so by crowdfunding, it gives them the opportunity to potentially contribute with a small contribution or something just as valuable. Share it on a social, forward on an email. They could forward that on to someone that you have no idea who it is. And that's the thing. I think sometimes people make assumptions about their audience and their friend's audience. Don't ever shut that door. You have no idea who knows who and who will be able to ultimately help you. So scream it, be loud and proud, and tell everybody that what you're up to, just for your business at large, but certainly for crowdfunding.
Yes, great advice. And also, would you say, too, to not be afraid, you can't do it, as you said, people are busy. You can't do it as just a drive-by, hey, I'm doing this, and then you're off and expect them to follow. People need to see things over and over again, even if you tell it a different way. But it's not just, I know there's sometimes, I'm guilty of this, I'll see something, oh, I want to support that, and then you get distracted and you forget to go back. But then the person either sends a follow-up email or something else that is a sort of a reminder or a fresh take on what they're doing, still the same thing, and I'll go and support it. So sometimes we think, oh, I already asked them, that's it, as opposed to
yeah, absolutely. One of the examples I give people is I'll say to people, how many of you been invited to a wedding? Okay, that's everybody in the room. How many of you replied immediately to that wedding invite so that that bride and groom knew and didn't have to hunt you down?
Right.
Nobody does that. Crowdfunding is exactly the same way. I'm actually running a crowdfunding project as I sit. We are raising equity for PieShell so that people can be a part of our company. And I've had probably 10 to 20 emails from people that I know of that have said, oh yeah, I'm going to contribute, but I just haven't done it yet. It's like, and I have to politely get in their business. It's the old squeaky wheel. And if people really stand behind you and really do want to contribute, they're actually going to be happy that you reminded them and not, annoyed, because they know what you're doing. And if they really are supportive, that's not going to be an issue. But that's some of the best practices that we share. We let people know that it takes a minimum of 3 to 5 emails before someone will actually engage. Such things as Twitter is a micro channel. So to put something out there, it just blows right past people. So go ahead, post it 6, 7, 8 times. Even Facebook, with all of the amazing algorithms that Facebook's using, it can work in your favor or work against you. Mm-hmm. If you put it out there, if you're not in someone's most recent and for whatever reason you're not populating their feed, they might never even know what you're up to. So don't be shy about posting it more than once, because unless someone goes to your specific Facebook page, which is not typically how they find out about you, they're not going to see that you've posted it 3 times that day. So, don't be shy. Put it out there, let people know exactly as you just raised.
And another thing I try to remind people in general, women that I talk to or consult with, it's sort of, this person said that they want to help you. So give them every opportunity to help you. In other words, don't feel like, oh, I asked, she said she'd help. I asked, she didn't respond. Keep asking until she either says, no, I can't right now. I don't want to. I've changed my, whatever it's going to be, but don't give up on getting the support, especially if it's something that you need from this person who has already said that they're willing to help you. Support is my whole thing, Cheryl. So that's all I talk about. But that was a thing that I know a lot of women, especially at least that I've spoken to, sort of, even if the support is offered, we're still nervous to go after it.
Absolutely. And I was at TechCrunch Disrupt. We were super excited to be part of their Startup Alley, but I went to a breakfast for women of TechCrunch, and one of them summed it up perfectly. She said, don't take the slow no. Absolutely keep on top of them and make them commit one way or the other, because you can spend so much time going after something to just get that no, because you're trying to be so polite and so friendly and so this and so that, and just be direct. I mean, I constantly say you just need to Nike this thing. Just do it. I turn Nike into a verb all the time. Right. Just do it. I mean, we say, one of the things that I am famous for saying is that the difference between a dream and a goal is a timeline. So lay it out and put some hard dates in there. If people know that you want them to respond by this date and you've reached out to them 3, 4 times, they'll act more to, instead of just, when you get around to it, maybe you could. I mean, give them a date. Let them know what's critical. Let them know when you want that funding and, or whatever help you want from them. And that's something that we tell them all the time. So you are, as they say, preaching to the choir.
Absolutely. And I love that. The difference between a dream and a goal is a timeline. Is that right? Very
much so. It is. I'm a hardcore project manager, and
I can tell you're very much on it.
My husband found a meme once that talked about the fact that project managers, and I am very guilty of this, is that we have to sometimes be careful, because I am absolutely of the mindset that if you give me 9 women and we have 1 month each, we're going to have a baby. And so sometimes you have to understand it doesn't quite work that way. And so, but absolutely put it out there, put the dates, put baby steps along the way, mini goals, and, and make sure that you've got your plan to get you there. I think that there can be so many things going on in startup land, and we can get lost in the multitude of ways that we can be pulled. And, you really have to sometimes take a half a step back, take a deep breath, reevaluate what your next steps are. Understand also that there is not one tombstone in this world that says dedicated startup founder. Keep your priorities straight, keep your feet on the ground, and then move towards your dream and just make it a reality.
Let's take a quick break to thank our sponsors. So if you're a solopreneur like me, you probably live by your schedule. You talk to people all around the world, from clients to freelancers. For me, podcast interviews that I have to set up. So my schedule means everything. And that is why I use Acuity Scheduling. Acuity has been my savior for the past year. It helps me, honestly, keep my sanity. And I was excited to get the chance to talk to Kristen Barber, Customer Happiness Specialist at Acuity, about just how the company goes about keeping their customers sane and happy.
So Acuity Scheduling is an online scheduling software program really focused on helping small businesses focus on what matters to them. So we take a lot of the day-to-day minutia off of your hands. We set it up so that you can have all of your clients self-schedule in, manage their appointments, reschedule, cancel if something comes up. You didn't have to call them and do this awkward back and forth dance of what date and time work for you. If anything changes, they don't need to call and let you know. They can just handle that all on your own and you're kept up to date. And it takes so much work off your plate so that you can focus on either building your business up with other aspects that a scheduling program can't handle, or go enjoy yourself.
And as a special offer for Support is Sexy listeners, Acuity Scheduling is offering a 45-day free trial just for you. So go to acuityscheduling.com/sexy. Again, that's ACUITY scheduling.com/sexy. And you can take advantage of any plan they have there for 45 days. At the end of that time, whatever plan you want to continue with, you can do that, or you can stick with the free plan. acuityscheduling.com/sexy.
We'll be keeping an eye out for you sexy ladies.
And now back to the show. So what would you say then, Cheryl, entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
Oh, I think it's taught me that, I'm probably stronger than I even realized. I mean, I was always very proud of what I did and, what you do. But when you are a woman, I know that for myself, I was incredibly fortunate to have an amazing family who I love and would take care of. And then I got married, and it was a buy one, get two free stepchildren who I adore. And, you end up sometimes giving so much of yourself in those situations that I knew that I sort of had to come back to being this strong, independent woman that I was. And by starting this and by believing in myself first, because that's the absolute core of everything. You have to believe in yourself first, whether it's a business or whether it's a look or a perception or anything that you're doing in life. You are the first person to believe in yourself, and then other people will see that and just truly go out there and don't hesitate to reach for your dreams and go. And I just found that, I was even stronger than I realized. I was so happy to do it. And I'm so proud of the fact that I've asked for help in certain areas, and people have been so incredibly generous in giving of those things, and just really can see how many lives we can change and that we can really make a difference.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier was the trough of sorrow that a lot of entrepreneurs and startups go through that period. How have you gotten through those times? And for everyone listening who hasn't heard of that phrase before, it's just that a low period usually after some kind of setback or something in your business. And it happens a lot in startup life.
It really does. Because people will be like, oh, it's not personal. It's just business. It's my business. So it's very personal.
Right. I know that's right. I know.
But I honestly, I think, there's nothing wrong, my humble opinion, there's nothing wrong with sitting down with your friends Ben and your friends Jerry and having a little baby pity party and, kind of taking a little bit of self-reflection. But I think it's like anything in life. When something negative and, kind of knocks you down, at the end of the day, you always have to get back up. But what I've found is that I will turn around in the next day and you're maybe feeling a little down, but then you'll go to some event or go into a coffee shop or do something and talk about something. And then all of a sudden there's something else that's so incredibly positive that happened. And I've been incredibly lucky that these things have happened within, 24 to 48 hour periods. I know that people can get into the trough of sorrow and you can be there for months, and, you just have to keep slogging and going through. But I am guilty of being, someone who is very optimistic. I am so optimistic that I'm not even a glass half full kind of girl. I'm a, oh my gosh, I have a glass kind of girl. And so I'm just happy to wake up every single day. I know that I'm incredibly fortunate to do that. I know not everybody has that opportunity. I think we see lots of things in the world that happened, and I know that any issue I might have in my life is truly a my diamond shoes are too tight problem. And so I take a minute, I feel bad about what it is, I give myself my little pity party, but then I'm like, okay, enough, and I get up and I just start doing it, because at the core of it, I know I'm going to actually help people. It's not actually about me. It's the companies that we're helping and the people that we are going to help grow their businesses. And that I have such a sense of honor and pride to be able to be part of their journey and help them make it, that I am not going to let them down, or I'm going to die trying. So, I think you just have to really believe in what you're doing, and you have to, move it forward. But also, I think you have to be, which sort of circles back to what I mentioned at the beginning, you have to be very, very open to truly hearing what people say and be able to learn from that, because maybe the idea you have shouldn't be moving forward, and you really have to self-evaluate, and maybe it needs to change or pivot. There was a woman I met yesterday who said she's met with over 12 branding companies and none of them are getting her vision. I hear that and I think, you met with 12 different companies who probably told you something you didn't want to hear. And I think maybe you need to listen and tweak what your vision is. I mean, if you've met with 12 companies that are experts at what they do, maybe there's something they're trying to tell you. And so sometimes, you just have to really reflect on it and figure out what the next best step is for you. But always get up. Absolutely always get back on that horse and keep going.
Excellent. So in closing, Cheryl, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
That's my mom. Yeah, she just did what she did, and she did it with such grace and with such courage, and she never took no for an answer, and everybody loved her, and I miss her every day. But she absolutely made me the woman I am today, and I could not be more proud of having her as my mom. I apologize. I miss her like crazy, but she was such an inspiration, and it might be cliche to say that your mom's your hero, but I know that there are so many people in this world that don't have the good fortune that I did to have an amazing mom, and, someone that had your back no matter what. And, to teach me what a wonderful female entrepreneur could be, to teach me how a wife can be and what to expect in life, to teach me how to be, I hope I've got my fingers crossed, to be a good stepmother to my kids and a friend to my friends. And, those are lessons that I will use until the day that I leave this earth. And so I will never be able to thank her for that.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I know she's proud of you too.
I've got every toe and finger crossed. I want to absolutely do her proud. So thank you for that.
Excellent. So tell us now, Cheryl, how we can support you. Give everyone the website and social media. And of course, I'll have links to everything.
Oh, thanks so much, Elayne. Well, you can find us at PieShell.com, and we are super excited. But we've got two wonderful areas. We'd love for people that want to start their crowdfunding journey. If you have any sort of an idea in the food and beverage space, absolutely reach out. But if you're just, one of those amazing foodies that wants to find super cool new companies, absolutely come and support. Again, you can find us at PieShell.com. You can find us at PieShell on Facebook. We are PieShell on Twitter, and our Instagram is the PieShell. And we're just so excited. Follow us, read our blog, just share that love and pass it around and help some of these amazing companies get to the next day, because we're so excited to see them grow big and strong.
Cheryl, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you and for your wisdom, your story, and just your spirit and energy of your passion, really, not even just energy, your passion about being of service to people. I really appreciate it and admire it.
Elayne, it was such an incredible honor to be able to speak with you and get this out in front of your audience. And if we can help them in any way, shape, or form, we are thrilled to be a part of it. So have people reach out if there's anything I can do to help anyone. I'd love to be connected.
Fantastic. Now, before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything?
Gosh, just enjoy every day you've got and talk to every single person. If you really have a company or a passion project that you believe in, don't be shy. I have found some amazing connections in airport lines and coffee shops. So just talk about it everywhere. Don't think that people don't want to know. Share it. Be loud and proud.
Cheryl, thank you so much. Hold on just a second. All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Cheryl. To find out more about Cheryl and about PieShell, make sure you go to supportissexypodcast.com and just search Cheryl, Cheryl. Her show notes page will pop up with all of the links, all of the resources, and all of the ways to get in touch with her. Now, thank you so much for being here. You know that I appreciate you, and I would love it and be so grateful if you would leave a review for the show. I love a 5-star review, as I always say, but any feedback, as we talked about in this episode, any feedback is appreciated. So wherever you're listening, please leave a review of the podcast. Let me know what you think, how the women and their stories are impacting you and your business, how it's helping you move forward, and anything else that you want to see. Takes a couple of minutes, leave us a review, and help us out. All right, so thank you so much again for being here. And until next time, you know what to do. Go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.